Hi, my beautiful Taurus souls. Let me ask you something bold, right from the start. What if everything that's fallen apart in your life recently was never truly meant for you, because something far better is finally making its way in? You didn't land here by accident. You were guided. Whether by an inner whisper, a quiet nudge from the universe, or a spark in your intuition, you're here, now. And that means something. This isn't just another astrology video. This is a deep, spiritually aligned reading crafted just for you, dear Taurus, for this powerful new chapter, April 2025. Right now, the energies surrounding your sign are shifting in ways that call for courage, clarity, and conscious alignment. And this video? It's here to help you understand what's moving beneath the surface. What's closing? What's cracking open? And most importantly, what's waiting for you on the other side? Because April isn't just another month on the calendar. It's a portal. A sacred invitation. A doorway to healing, renewal, and true alignment. Whether you're dealing with endings, transitions, or just an unexplainable feeling that something bigger is coming, you're not alone. You're in the middle of something meaningful. Something divinely orchestrated. In Buddhism, we're taught to honor impermanence, how everything that arises will also pass. And in that awareness, we begin to see life not as random chaos, but as a beautifully timed unfolding. That perspective is exactly what I hope to bring you in this reading. Because maybe you're not being punished. Maybe you're being prepared. Now, before we dive in, I want to take a moment to truly thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for trusting your intuition. Every like, every comment, every share, every subscription, it's not just a number. It's a thread in the energetic web we're weaving together here at Eternal Mindfulness. And I feel your presence deeply. Your support allows us to keep creating these transformative messages, and I promise you, this one is special. In fact, Taurus, I believe this could be the reading that shifts your perspective, opens your heart, and reminds you just how powerful your spirit truly is. So I invite you to stay with me, all the way to the end. Because what the universe is revealing for you today, it's nothing short of extraordinary. You'll want to hear every piece of it. And tell me in the comments, what did you feel, think, or do that brought you here right now? I believe your answer is part of the magic. Let's begin. Sometimes what feels like disruption is, in truth, a sacred unraveling, one that gently strips away the layers of comfort we've mistaken for fulfillment. As we transition from the opening message of divine timing and soul alignment, we begin to sense that the universe isn't pulling anything away from us to be cruel. It's simply making space. This is the energy that Mars and the Moon stir within you now, dear Taurus, an internal tension that beckons you to confront what no longer belongs, even if you've grown used to its presence. The opposing placement of these celestial bodies is not random. Mars, the planet of assertion and drive, colliding with the emotional tides of the Moon, calls forth deep feelings that perhaps you've tucked away beneath responsibility, logic, or routine. It's not about chaos, it's about awakening. This tension reveals truths you've ignored. It amplifies emotions you've minimized. And it whispers what you've known all along. The time has come to walk away from something that no longer feeds your becoming. The Eight of Cups echoes this beautifully. In its silent departure, we see not abandonment but bravery. It tells a story not of loss but of conscious release, a letting go of something once meaningful, now quietly expired. It may be a career path that promised stability but never gave you peace. A relationship that once lit up your world, now flickering in shadows. Or a version of yourself you've outgrown, but still cling to out of familiarity. There is a subtle sorrow in this card, yes, but it is not defeat, it is the first step toward wholeness. This moment is more than symbolic. It's deeply real. It's the stillness just before the shift, the inhale before a new identity begins to breathe. These shakeups you may be feeling, externally or within, aren't detours. They are directions. What breaks your rhythm is sometimes what realigns your truth. And like the falling leaves that nourish the soil beneath them, what you release now becomes the fertile ground for what's next. Letting go is rarely easy, especially for an earth sign like you, Taurus, who finds comfort in consistency and deep roots. But the greatest acts of grounding often begin with uprooting. It takes strength to say, "This chapter has served me, but it no longer defines me." And even more strength to ask, "What am I still holding on to out of fear, not love?" There's a quiet teaching here, one that says everything impermanent holds a lesson. When we release attachment, we open space, not just in our schedules or relationships, but in our hearts. And in that space, clarity dawns. Insight emerges. Peace finds its way in. If you find yourself standing at the edge of a decision, know this: the very act of questioning means your awareness is expanding. That in itself is a miracle. You're not lost. You're shifting. And sometimes, in order to find your direction, you must first admit where you've been standing still. Take a moment now to reflect, not on what you're losing, but on what you're making room for. If your soul is longing for something deeper, something truer, maybe the most loving thing you can do is say goodbye to what no longer holds light. And remember, it's in these moments of quiet courage, when no one's watching, and it's just you and the truth, that real transformation begins. The kind that doesn't scream, but settles. The kind that doesn't demand applause, but offers peace. The kind that doesn't promise comfort, but calls you home. When the dust begins to settle after a personal shift, there's often a pause. A strange stillness that lingers between what once was and what hasn't yet arrived. That's where you might find yourself now, dear Taurus. You've taken the first brave steps toward letting go, but as the old fades and the new remains just out of reach, doubt can quietly slip in. It doesn't roar, it whispers. And those whispers, if left unchecked, can become a fog that blurs your inner compass. This is where the light of awareness becomes essential. The sun, now casting its brilliance on the darker corners of your inner world, invites you to take a second look, not at your circumstances, but at the thoughts surrounding them. It gently illuminates the assumptions you've made, the narratives you've internalized, and the fear-based patterns still coloring your decisions. Light always follows darkness, but it never demands your trust, it asks for it. And now, more than ever, your trust in the path ahead is what will move you forward. The tarot speaks here, too. The moon card mirrors your emotional world at this moment, layered, unpredictable, filled with both beauty and confusion. It's not a sign that you're broken, it's a reminder that clarity often emerges through softness, not force. When paired with the Five of Cups, the energy speaks of grief. Not always loud or dramatic, but the subtle grief of what could have been, what no longer is, or what you hoped would work out but didn't. These feelings are valid. They deserve to be acknowledged, not rushed away. But they're also not meant to be your home. They're a passage. Your emotions are not barriers to your growth, they are maps. Each feeling, no matter how uncomfortable, is pointing towards something deeper that wants to be seen and healed. And this is where your power lies. Because while you can't always choose the emotions that arise, you can choose how to meet them. Whether with resistance, or with presence. Consider this, the quality of your thoughts and feelings is the very energy you're broadcasting to the world. The law of attraction is not about forcing yourself to be happy all the time, it's about becoming more conscious of what you're feeding into your inner and outer reality. Fear, when left unchecked, tends to invite more experiences that confirm it. But faith, even the fragile kind, can open doors that fear will never find. So if you feel ungrounded, overwhelmed, or unsure, I invite you to come back to yourself. Not to fix what's broken, but to reconnect with what's always been whole. Simple practices can guide you. Write down 3 things you're grateful for today, not because everything is perfect, but because somewhere in the imperfection, something still feels warm. Sit in silence, even if it's just for 5 minutes, and listen, not to the chaos, but to the quiet beneath it. Let your breath anchor you. Let your heart lead you back. There's a teaching that says, the mind that doubts is not wrong. It's just tired. It has carried too many stories, held on to too many what-ifs. And perhaps what you need right now is not a solution, but a gentle surrender. A willingness to stop fighting the uncertainty and start listening to what it's really trying to say. So I ask you, Taurus, what is it, in this very moment, that you are being invited to trust? Not in theory, but in practice. Not someday, but right now. Go ahead and share that in the comments. Say it out loud. Write it down. Let it breathe. Because the moment you do, the energy begins to shift. And that small act of naming your truth, that's where real trust begins. It's often just after the moment of doubt, when the fog begins to thin and your heart starts to soften again, that something new begins to stir on the horizon. Not always loudly, not always clearly, but subtly. Almost like a quiet knock from something, or someone, you didn't know you were ready for. And this, dear Taurus, is exactly where the universe has brought you now. After the release, after the questioning, comes the invitation, a fresh connection, a meaningful collaboration, or a new chapter in love or purpose that finally resonates with the version of you that's been slowly unfolding. Astrologically, this energy is anchored by the vibration of the number 2 and 4, a union of insight and structure. The number 2, symbolized by the High Priestess, reminds you to trust your intuition as you sense who or what aligns with your deeper values. It's not about logic alone anymore. You're learning to feel your way forward. Meanwhile, the number 4, seen in the Four of Wands, reflects stability, foundation, and a celebratory milestone. Together, these 2 numbers point to the emergence of something, or someone, that's not just passing through your life, but arriving with purpose. The Lovers and Ace of Cups appearing together is no coincidence. This isn't merely romance, though it may be. This is about resonance. soul-level compatibility. It could be a person, a mentor, a business partner, or even a community, someone whose presence activates a new level of emotional clarity and creative flow. The energy here is less about intensity and more about harmony. Less about fantasy and more about alignment. It feels nourishing, not overwhelming. Empowering, not draining. This is the kind of connection that mirrors your own growth back to you. And so it's natural to compare this to what you've experienced in the past. Perhaps you once poured yourself into situations that never poured back. Or invested time and hope into dynamics that always felt like you were carrying more weight than the other. That's okay. You didn't fail, you were simply learning the difference between effort and ease, between attachment and alignment. The question now is, how do you recognize when you've met someone who's truly on your frequency? The answer is gentler than you might expect. It's in how calm your nervous system feels around them. It's in the way you don't second-guess your words, or shrink yourself to be received. The right kind of connection doesn't ask you to perform, it simply asks you to be. This is where self-awareness becomes your greatest tool. As you grow, so does your ability to attract people and opportunities that match your current vibration. This is why personal evolution is the ultimate act of attraction. You don't need to chase what's meant for you. You simply need to become someone who can hold it when it arrives. Think of it like a tuning fork. Your energy calls in what harmonizes with it. That's the law of attraction in motion, not through force, but through frequency. If you feel the pull of something new, I encourage you to meet it with curiosity, not resistance. Begin by writing down the qualities you now know you desire in your next partnership, collaboration, or creative pursuit. Not from a place of longing, but from clarity. Be specific. Be honest. When you name what you're ready for, you signal to life that you're open, and that openness is powerful. There's a quiet wisdom and understanding that some people come into our lives to teach us how to hold space for ourselves, and others arrive when we've finally done just that. So if you've done the inner work, if you've made space, and if your heart is gently opening again, trust that something beautiful is already on its way to meet you. And this time, it might just fit. Progress often doesn't arrive with fireworks. It comes quietly, through persistence, through choice, through the kind of small, consistent steps that rarely get celebrated, but that build the most unshakable foundations. After the emotional clearing of doubt and the gentle awakening of aligned connection, you now stand in a space where things begin to take form. Not just as ideas, or potentials, but as actual results. Taurus, this is the phase where your energy meets evidence. Where the seeds you planted begin to rise through the surface, and what once felt distant starts to become tangible. The Ten of Pentacles and the world together are deeply symbolic. They suggest not only fulfillment but sustainability, a vision coming full circle and grounding itself in reality. There's a richness in these cards that isn't just financial. It speaks of legacy. Of building something that lasts. Of reaching a milestone that reflects both inner growth and external alignment. But even more so, they honor the time and devotion it's taken to get here. Because what you're seeing now, what's slowly forming around you, isn't the result of one lucky break. It's the culmination of the quiet work you've been doing for far longer than most know. Astrologically, the harmony between Saturn and Venus this month supports this kind of maturation. Saturn, the wise teacher, rewards discipline, commitment, and clarity. Venus, your ruling planet, brings beauty, ease, and attraction. When these two form a trine, especially in April, it's an open window for you to bring structure to your desires and magnetism to your plans. It's not just about dreaming anymore. It's about designing, refining, following through, and doing so with heart-centered purpose. This is where the law of attraction becomes deeply practical. You've been visualizing, setting intentions, maybe even praying in your own way for certain breakthroughs. But the universe meets your energy in motion. The key now is to keep going, especially when you're close. There's a quiet challenge here, to resist the urge to pull back or second-guess just as things begin to take shape. Because sometimes, the hardest part isn't starting, it's finishing. Staying focused. Staying true to what you said you wanted, even after the excitement wears off. Here's the truth about real success. It's not a moment, it's a process. And what turns passion into progress is discipline. There's a certain kind of peace that comes when you know your effort is aligned. When your work reflects not only your talent but your truth. This is the sweet spot where strategy meets soul, where your ambition is guided not by ego, but by something deeper, your values, your purpose, your sense of contribution. This is where fulfillment begins to replace the empty chase for validation. Numerologically, the number 8 carries this exact frequency. Power, abundance, and balance. It's about mastering the material world without being owned by it. The shape of the 8 itself is a symbol of infinity, an ongoing cycle of giving and receiving, building and renewing. You may feel this number showing up for you lately, in time, in signs, or just in the rhythm of your days. That's no coincidence. It's a reflection of the inner authority you've been stepping into. So now, ask yourself, what are you building in your life right now? What vision are you committed to seeing through, even on the quiet days? Take a moment to anchor that intention. And if you feel called, share it in the comments, not for validation, but to affirm your path out loud. Because when we speak our intentions into the world, they begin to echo back in ways we can't always predict. This is your time to consolidate, to commit, and to trust that the work you've done matters. Not just in the outcome, but in who you've become along the way. There's a quiet turning point that happens when effort begins to melt into ease, when the striving softens, and instead of pushing, you begin to receive. After all the letting go, the questioning, the rebuilding, and the steady rise into alignment, this is where you are now, Taurus. Not at the beginning of a new challenge, but at the gentle edge of joy. It may arrive quietly, with small confirmations that something has finally clicked into place. Or it may pour in all at once like sunlight flooding through a once closed window. Either way, this is your time to open, to allow yourself to feel the fullness of the moment without waiting for the other shoe to drop. The 3 of Cups paired with the Sun speaks volumes. These cards hold an energy that is warm, communal, and radiant. They carry the vibration of celebration, not necessarily the kind you plan, but the kind that bubbles up from within. It's the celebration that happens when your body relaxes because it finally feels safe, when your mind quiets because it finally feels clear, and when your heart feels seen and supported. And you don't need grand external validation to feel this joy. The purest kind of joy, in fact, is often born from simplicity, from presence, connection, and the courage to finally let good things in. This is where many of us hesitate. We've become so used to bracing ourselves for the next challenge, the next setback, that we unconsciously tighten even in moments meant for softness. But you are not meant to live in a constant state of readiness. You are allowed to breathe here, to trust this moment, to enjoy the space you've worked so hard to reach. This is part of the journey too, learning not just how to grow, but how to receive. Not just how to overcome, but how to let in warmth without guilt or suspicion. Opening yourself to joy is a discipline in its own right. It means dropping the idea that happiness needs to be earned through exhaustion. It asks you to stop measuring your worth by how much you've suffered or how long you've waited. Instead, it invites you to remember that being alive, really alive, is enough. That being present in this body, on this earth, in this moment, is already the miracle. You might begin to notice how even the smallest things feel different now. A warm drink in your hands. A quiet morning. A laugh shared with someone who feels like home. These are not distractions from your purpose, they are expressions of it. They are what make the journey not just meaningful, but beautiful. So instead of racing ahead to what's next, pause here. Let your eyes linger a little longer. Let your gratitude rise without needing a reason. Let your shoulders drop. Color can help ground this energy too. Orange, the color of vitality, can support you in staying connected to your creative spark and life force. Pastel pink, with its gentle frequency, can soothe emotional edges and help you deepen into softness and self-trust. Wear them, surround yourself with them, or simply visualize their tones washing over you like a quiet blessing. Remember, the final reward isn't just the outcome you've been hoping for. It's the version of you that's now able to receive it. You've grown more generous, more spacious, more rooted in your own truth. And that's no small thing. You didn't rush. You didn't chase. You aligned. You listened. And now, the energy around you is shifting to meet that. So if this season feels lighter, it's because you are. And if joy feels closer, it's because you've made room for it. The path is still unfolding, but today, you are exactly where you're meant to be. And so, as we arrive at the close of this journey together, I invite you to take a slow, deep breath, not just to ground yourself, but to fully feel what has just unfolded. Everything you've just listened to, every insight that resonated, every truth that stirred something within you, these aren't just words. They're reminders. Gentle echoes of a knowing you already carry inside. Because no matter what the stars suggest or the cards reveal, the truest source of wisdom, the one that matters most, has always been you. You are not at the mercy of fate. You are the co-creator of your path. The planets may guide you, the cycles may shape you, but the final choice is always yours. You hold the pen. You decide what comes next. And perhaps that's the most empowering realization of all. This moment, right now, is a pivot point. A small but powerful space in time where you get to ask yourself, what do I truly want to build from here? Who am I becoming? What am I ready to let in now that I've cleared the space for it? It's okay if you don't have all the answers yet. The truth is, most of us are walking question marks with hearts wide open. But don't underestimate the quiet power of asking the right questions. Sometimes a simple pause to reflect is the very act that shifts your energy. So, let me ask you, what insight from this reading landed the deepest for you? What part of yourself did you see more clearly? And what's one small change you can make this week to honor the version of you that's emerging? If you feel called, I'd love for you to share your answer in the comments. Not just for me, but for you. Because the moment we speak something into the world, even with a few typed words, we begin to shape it. There is a kind of magic in saying, "This is who I am now. This is what I'm ready for." And if you've made it this far in the video, chances are, you are ready, more than you may realize. You've navigated deep emotional shifts, faced moments of doubt with grace, allowed space for healing, and opened your heart to new possibilities. That in itself is something worth celebrating. So don't rush past this stage. Let yourself enjoy the lightness. Let yourself rest in the joy that comes not from perfection, but from presence. Thank you, truly, for sharing your energy and time with me today. Whether you're a returning soul in this space or this is your very first visit to eternal mindfulness, please know how much your presence matters. Every like, every comment, every moment you spend engaging here is part of a larger energetic exchange that keeps this community growing, grounded, and glowing. Your support doesn't go unnoticed. It breathes life into this work and allows messages like this one to reach those who need it most. If this reading resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you never miss a moment of clarity. And if your heart whispered, yes, during any part of this message, if something clicked or soothed or opened, drop a red heart in the comments and let me know. That's how we stay connected. That's how we keep creating magic together. And remember, Taurus, your path is not written in stone. It's drawn with each conscious step you take. Keep choosing truth. Keep choosing growth. And above all, keep choosing you.